If anyone's on top of it, it's this guy right here, in Rapoport, talking about the 49ers here at the 2022 NFL Scouting Combine. Let's start with the quarterback position. Jimmy Garoppolo has to have surgery on his shoulder. How do you think that it kind of impacts his market and his availability this season?
It's going to impact his market, and it's going to give teams something to think about and investigate and be very thorough about and make sure they have all the right information. It doesn't halt his market. I do think a trade could happen. It is possible. And the 49ers are really smart and savvy, and so I feel like if anyone could pull off a trade as complicated as this, it is them, right? And so, like, I was just talking to a GM, all the GMs are kind of wandering around here. It's like, I'm just curious, do you think the 49ers could pull off this trade? And the response I got was, well, yeah, because you need to have one. In other words, you need to have a quarterback. Like, if you're another team, you've got to have one. So it would be worth the pick in the eyes of this general manager to take a little bit of a risk for the shoulder that's not going to throw for 16 weeks. So it makes it complicated, but it doesn't make it impossible.
Looking at this current draft class, I know a lot of people say it's not as glamorous as, let's say, what we saw last year. Does that work in the 49ers' favor at all?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to trade picks, you'd like them to be picks that aren't very valuable. But for the 49ers, it doesn't matter, right? Like, I think the only thing that matters with those picks last year, which I think you're talking about, is did you get the guy or not? And if Trey Lance is the guy, then you could give up literally anything for him, and it's worth it. Like, who cares? You give up 4 first-round picks. If you have your starting quarterback for 12 years, it's all worth it, right? So I think that's where the 49ers come in. Now, I mean, this is a draft that does seem to be really strong in rounds like 2 to 5. So I think, they can do well there, and they have in the past. But as far as those first, if Trey Lance is the guy, I don't think anything else matters.
All right, speaking of Trey Lance being the guy, you look at some of these situations where this is played out, most recent being the Kansas City Chiefs with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. But what have you kind of grasped, just kind of taking a peek at how Trey Lance has kind of developed this season?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've seen him in some moments. He played well enough, has had some good, some good situational stuff. We have not seen a lot of it. With Patrick Mahomes, we saw week 17, and he looked good. And I think at that point the Chiefs were like, okay, I think we got our guy. We haven't seen that with the 49ers. We haven't seen it in practice. We haven't seen it really in a game. It doesn't mean it's not there. It just means at some point Trey Lance is going to play, and we're all going to see. The other thing I would say, someone reminded me of the Aaron Rodgers situation when he was becoming a starter. They won 6 games his first year as a starter. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen. The 49ers roster is good. They should be okay. But, even if Trey Lance struggles this year, he still could end up as their guy, because this is all about long-term, not we've got to make sure 2022 is as good as possible.
Usually teams around this time of year, they're dealing with a lot of turnover on their roster. 49ers dealing with it in a different way as far as their coaching staff. Just from knowing a lot of people around the league and understanding kind of coaching changes, do you see this as being a challenge for the 49ers, having kind of like a win-now roster?
Well, not really, because, they will lose an offensive coordinator, probably won't replace him, probably hire a quarterback's coach. I assume Kyle will be more involved. But, he's still there. John Lynch, at one point, I thought he might leave for TV. He's still there. Defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, who's really good. Not only is he still there, but he pulled himself back from other opportunities to stay. So, all the other stuff is important. I don't mean to say it's not important. Special teams is important. Hightower is really good. But I think they're going to be okay because so many of the key cogs are there in place.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.